G'day fans and welcome back to yet another exciting episode of DNA Reviews. We're talking about the old Docky Who. There's only a couple of episodes left. My mate Aaron over there absolutely lost his load with the songs that they were singing on this episode. Dude, how you going, mate? Have you recovered from the Eurovision, both the galactic version as well as the local version?
Neither of them were anything to write home about, were they? I think I've recovered. How about you?
Oh, mate, what can I say? I got sagas, Aaron. I got to tell you. Now, this is going to be a long episode, fans. You're just going to have to get used to it. Nick's joined us tonight. Absolutely fantastic. Evening, lads. Even I was in your store on Saturday, and one of your regular customers, Oscar, who comes in and talks about Docky Who and nothing else, even asked me, had I been watching the latest series? And I said, yes. And we had a conversation. Me, mate, I'm as bad as anti-Docky Who as you can get. And then sure enough, I'm having a conversation with him about bloody Docky Who. What have you done to me, dude?
I don't know, but I'd probably guess that you've been to more meetings of the Doctor Who Club of Victoria than he has. So I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, I tell you what, it was just completely nuts. And I thought, oh, mate, I'm not only am I just discussing with you about this show, I'm actually holding my own as well. And I thought, oh my God, I have to go and like wash my mouth out with soap at the end of the day. So, it's a horrible feeling. I can't escape it. That's exactly right. It's just I'm surrounded by this damn thing all the time. So we are here to talk about the old Docky Who, as you well know, fans. And guess what? Apparently, Mr. Aaron, we have a sponsor for the show. Is that correct?
Yes, we've picked up a sponsor. How amazing is this?
Very good. Go for it.
It's Head and Shoulders shampoo, the shampoo that works even on Time Lords in zero mavity. So yeah. Oh, I got a snort out of you right at the start of the show.
I was just thinking, how pathetic is that joke, right? And like, so fans, he literally just sent me that like a couple of minutes before we went on air, and I put it in because he wanted it at the start of the show, and I thought, well, there you go, fans. That's the big joke for the day.
it's all downhill from here.
Tell you what, you're not wrong. Anyway, this is going to be a long review, fans. They've got so many pictures and things to get through. It's completely and absolutely burko. We are talking about an episode with the longest title in the history of history, the Interstellar Song Contest. And, of course, there will be spoilers. Yes, that is my good self stacked behind 6,000 bloody Docky Who coffee coasters. So you can piff those DVDs out the window. But, yes, there will be spoilers for those who haven't seen it. We have to put the disclaimer in for anybody who goes, oh, really? You're going to talk about the episode and you're going to ruin it for me? So
I said to Dags, here's your homework. Take them home and watch them all.
Yeah, and what do you reckon I did with that? It's just out the window. So I gave him the piff. So, yes, very, very cool. Anyway, and Colin's joined us, which is absolutely fantastic. Speaking of fantastic, there's good old Nick. He's fantastic. And we're going to kick it off because we got our old the good, the bad, and the ugly as per usual. We're going to look at the good aspects of the episode, the bad aspects, and the ugly is, of course, the conspiracy theories, views, and discussion points, of which Aaron has a bucket load. So before you kick it off, old son, is there anything you want to say about the Eurovision bloody episode, whatever it's freaking called, and before you kick off the goods?
I'll get it off my chest straight away as we go into it. I've been easier on this one than I usually would be on an episode because it was meant to be not really a normal episode. It was meant to be a lead into Eurovision and a bit of a fun episode. So some episodes that I might judge harsher, this one I've gone a bit easier on than usual. It's still not a fantastic episode, but there's probably more goods in it than I would have given if it had just been a straight up episode, not sort of leading into Eurovision. So we'll go through it. And if anyone wants to say, no, this was horrible, go ahead and put it up in the comments, because there were some of the goods that really borderlined on bad for me, but I was generous this week.
Very, very cool. All right, let's kick it off. It is the Eurovision bloody intergalactic song thingamabobs, and off you go, sir. Some goods.
Well, if you're going to do a intergalactic song contest that leads into Eurovision and you want to give it Eurovision vibes, they pulled that off. I think they did it really well. It looked like a song contest. It didn't look like, even though they had an alien as a host, some weird thing that people who were just regular viewers who tuned in early because they were going to watch Eurovision.
Hang on, dude. The guy on the left doesn't look like an alien at all. What are you talking about?
Rylan is the biggest alien on the whole show. I think he's an Auton. He's so plastic. But I think they did a pretty good job if you were going to watch it, because like even Belinda kind of says, it's a kind of a fun night where I used to get my pajamas on early and be good and sit down and watch it. I think it's the kind of show that anyone could have enjoyed. So I think they did a good job on that.
I agree with you on that one, even though I'm not a Eurovision person at all. It looked very spectacular. Just got to say hello to Killer Clown, who has joined us, but hasn't actually posted any messages I can actually read. But yes, it did look good, and you do wonder whether it was all like done digitally or whether they actually used the real venue or whatever else. So, in terms of making it over the top, the OTT, as they say, yes, I have to concede and agree with you that yes, it definitely had that look and feel, which was very, very well done. It was very, very clever. Yeah.
This episode had the biggest budget for the entire season, so I actually think they were on location on a space station in space.
Jeez. So the amount of extras they would have used would have been pretty phenomenal. I like the idea of having the alien host, not the dude on the left, as I was joking, but the actual other person, because it is meant to be an interstellar thing. And
Yes.
I thought that was actually a good move on their part. So yeah, well done.
Yeah, so I thought it was also good that for Doctor Who, sometimes, when they have a crowd scene, it's like a couple of extras in the background, and that's kind of it. In this, it actually really seemed like there was a big crowd, and it wasn't all aliens. I'm sorry, it wasn't all humans. There were flashes of different sectors who were different aliens, and that's exactly how it is in Eurovision, where you'll get a group of the Swedes or a group of the Germans, and they kind of sit together and have their flags and stuff like that. So again, I think they were doing a really good job, and it did look like it was, ramped up a level from what you might get at Eurovision to intergalactic status.
Yeah, so as I said, yeah, the money is definitely on the screen, and you are right. I think there's probably a lot of people doing freeze frames to say, "Oh, what alien's that?" and "What alien is that?" and "Oh, what species is that?" There'd be obviously new ones that may reappear in future episodes, and there'd be ones that people have obviously seen before. So, yeah. Here's an interesting one from Russ, who's gone right back here. They could have done a Euro Song Contest story back in the Pertwee days, as back then the contest was just like someone singing on the Don Lane show. So, well, I guess they had a bit of what do you call it, an incentive, as you said, to do it for this one because of the real Eurovision. So I thought, yeah, that's fair enough. Now this one I did like because this is like the Where's Wally of the entire series, where Mrs. Flood pops up, and I really like the fact that she's looking at the doctor while everybody else is looking at the show. That really worked for me.
Yeah, I thought that was good too. It's one of those things they use sometime. It is a bit of a trope in spy things. I think even in James Bond once, Bond said to a less sort of with it agent, stop looking, because everyone in the audience is looking one way and the
Mm.
spy is looking at the other person. So I thought this was really good where she's sort of above him looking down and half watching the contest and half watching the doctor. And then I did think it was quite funny how she leant across to the alien next to her and offered her a grape.
Well, it's lucky the lady didn't say, yeah, can I get it peeled? That would have been kind of kind of amusing. So it was a grape. I've only watched this once and I couldn't understand what she said, but it was a grape. So yeah, that was a good moment because as soon as Flood is watching the doctor, you go, oh, something shifty's going on, which of course reveals itself at the very end. Unlike normally, whenever the doctor and Belinda land on a planet, there's like complete carnage going on. This time they're actually kicking back and chilling out, having drinks and everything. I actually thought it was
And
kind of groovy.
yeah, and actually, that was one of the things I kind of liked. This series has been so hectic with one story continuing straight on for another story, straight on to another story. I actually liked, some people won't like this, but I actually liked that they sat back, said, we're definitely staying here before we leave because this looks cool. We're going to watch the song contest. And she talks about her memories. And he, being a Time Lord, talks about being there when ABBA won and Olivia Newton-John came runner-up and all these different memories. And I just thought, if you're celebrating Eurovision in an episode of Doctor Who, this is a great way to do it because it has that nostalgia stuff that someone watching who might not have watched Doctor Who for a long time actually connects to it through the music they're talking about rather than the weird aliens and stuff. And as a viewer and a Doctor Who fan, sometimes it's nice to see the Doctor and his companion just enjoy being time travelers.
Just chilling out, doing their thing. Yeah, exactly right. Which, of course, then prompts the question. I mean, if you're looking at it from a continuity perspective, does this event happen every year within the galaxy and is been going forever and ever and ever and ever? And why hasn't it been referenced before? If you want to go to that intricate detail, chances are they'll never reference it ever again. But
Yeah.
it was a nice little gag. It actually reminded me of the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Yeah, it could be. It was the Eurovision song contest at the end of the universe. Yeah, absolutely love
We
it. Yeah,
actually, when we watched that at the end of it, I said that some of it was reminding me,
yeah.
even the dialogue where they're talking about the spiral arm and stuff like that. I was like, this is very Douglas Adams. I liked how you had the poppy honey thing. on the screen, and it's, I guess, a kind of nod to what's going to come down the track. And I also liked that you had behind the scenes of the running of the contest as you're watching it go on. So you kind of have already the two different layers of how this content, how this story is going to go. So it was just nice. They introduced the location, they introduced the Doctor and Belinda, and then they start adding elements. And I thought it was a really good build up as they went along.
Very cool. And DJ Command, I think it is, it just said, G'day. G'day, DJ. Good to see you join us for the show. We've only just kicked it off, actually. So we're still in our goods. So for those who've joined late, we're doing our goods, our bads, and the uglies, which are just our conspiracy theories. We're still on the goods, which is particularly groovy. And I did like the idea that in that scene, you do see all the people behind the scenes who are pushing all the buttons and on the cameras and whatever else, because in real life, that's exactly what occurs. The power behind the throne, as it were, Mr. Aaron, which is very groovy.
Yep. And this is what you were saying about the Where's Wally and Who's Who. Usually I put this in the uglies, but I thought I'd do it here as we go through. They actually talk about from A to Z, everyone voting from Alpha Centauri to the Zygon new habitat. And Alpha Centauri and the Zygons are, of course, old aliens from Doctor Who. But the one people might not have picked up, I haven't really seen anyone talk about it, one of the contestants is from Trion. And Trion is Turlough's home planet. You're getting this, Dags? Turlough was a companion of the Fifth Doctor, and he was a bit of a mystery and turned out to be from Trion. So there was even a link there, and those kind of things are cool for fans. So worked for Eurovision people and worked for like longer term fans as well.
Sorry, who came from that planet?
Turlough.
Turlough. Yeah. I understand that planet is just full of just clothing stores because every time someone goes in there, they're just looking for something to try on. I had to think fast, dude. I had to think really quick on that one. Yeah. It's the best one I could come up with. Yes, very, very good. It's a pity they couldn't have a Terry Wogan commentary. No idea.
Well, Terry Wogan used to host Eurovision. I did say to Dags, if Russell's around, we'll be getting all the Eurovision facts and figures from him all show.
Yep, totally agree. Anyway, so something bad has to happen. Something bad does happen. The dudes pop up, they take over the show, and it's all going to go a bit pear-shaped for the show, putting it in simple terms.
Yeah, so again, I thought this was well done, where you've set up the people in the command center, you've set up how it's going on, you see them take over, and they explain their plan. It's quite simple. It's simple enough for your average audience to get what's going along, and it shows the Doctor being smart because they start broadcasting the dress rehearsal rather than the actual show, which means that one of the hosts isn't there, and the Doctor can see on his screen it's different from what's going on actually on the stage. So you have this thing where even behind the scenes, as soon as stuff starts going wrong, the Doctor notices straight away and starts trying to do something about it and discover what's going on. So Doctor being smartest person in the room is something I really like when they do that in the show.
Yeah, it's kind of lucky, isn't it? Because normally, like a concert, they'll have a big screen that everybody just watches if they're in the cheap seats, but instead of having your individual screen, which is kind of weird in a way, because normally at a concert, if you're looking at like the actors this big, but the screen behind them is really big, at least you're looking in the right direction. So if you spend your time looking at the screen down there, you're actually not watching the show over there at all. And in fact, the audio would be a bit whacked out too, because you're not getting it from that direction. So, but it did work. He did put two and two together very, very quickly. But the bad dude, whose name I've got no idea what it is, at least he tweaked that somebody's going to register that there's a problem. So it's not like they said, oh, this will suck everybody in. And of course, the docky, he was on the KC, he jumped over the ledge and he was pulling out cables and shit everywhere. Mate, what a cool cat he was. So there you go. Very cool.
Yeah. And the bad guy's name was Kid.
Yeah, very good. We've got Karan's joined us. It looks like his keyboard has got somebody's jammed in his keyboard. Yo, what's up? Miss you guys. It's like, you better get that fixed, dude. But yeah, it's very good. And Michael has joined us as well, which is kind of cool. But then we got to the serious stuff, Mr. Aaron, blowing dudes into space.
And you can see every cent of the money on the screen in this scene. This has to be one of the best visual effects ever in Doctor Who. It isn't, a flashy spaceship scene or something like that, but it does actually look for real, like hundreds of thousands of people are getting sucked up in zero gravity and doesn't look fake at all.
Two things. I'm going to pop this one up first. Russell
Yep.
said he was wondering if the singer with the red pattern on her face was supposed to be from the planet galaxy of the Paterni guy from Dalek Master Plan. I'll let you answer that one.
I hadn't thought of that. Possibly. I mean, anything is possible. They did mention Mavic Chen in the first Shooty episode, so Master Plan is in the back of their heads. I kind of think all the aliens were different because they didn't want to have to pay anyone extra story rights if they use an alien from a different story, which is why I think they mentioned aliens because they can do that but didn't show them. But a nod to something like that is so obscure, not a lot of people would pick it up. But Russell's a mega brain on stuff like that, so possibly.
Very cool. Just a big hello to Mushy as well. Hope it's Mushy, not Mushy. It was interesting. So when Aaron and I watched this episode, we actually watched it together. We had Nick, who's also watching with us right now in the room at the time. And when all these dudes got blown into space, the first thought was, oi, that's different for Doctor Who. They actually killed all these people. And it turns out they hadn't killed them, which is a bit of a cop-out in the end. It would have been kind of groovy for the story if they had have all died. But of course, the Doctor's floating around up in the thing as well. So the fact that they saved them all right, okay, we'll go with that. But when it actually occurred, and you are right, visually, it was very spectacular. And you go, oh, hang on, where are we going with this? Because as far as we know, the shields are down and off they all go. But for a while there, it was like, whoosh, very cool, very groovy. So, yeah.
And I think in the next slide again, we see another amazing shot. This was so good. There's a couple of slides on it where then after you see this wave of people getting sucked up closer and closer to the Doctor, you think, well, how's he going to get out of it? He doesn't. He gets sucked up too. And then there's a great shot. I guess you can't really see it on the smaller monitors of the stadium with all these people hovering around over the top of it. And because I guess special effects have advanced so far, you can literally see tens of thousands of little dots all moving and hovering around. It's come a long way, Doctor Who, for that show with the shaky walls and bad special effects and monsters that are ping pong balls inside a plastic bag or something, hasn't it?
So that's right. So the Mavity Shell is still on. Now, I watched this episode once. How many times did you end up watching it?
I've only watched this one 4 times.
Only. So is there a reason, just for those people like me who just don't register these things, why they left the Mavity Shell shut and just didn't open everything and just kill everybody, space them all from the outset?
They actually tried to do that, and when the Doctor was doing stuff with his sonic screwdriver, he said he tripled the field of the Mavity Shell. So they thought they'd blow everyone out, and they kind of did, but there was still a field around them.
All right, cool. No worries. Thank you for explaining that one. And then, of course, you're right. The Docky himself is up there, sort of like turning into a popsicle. So it was like, and of course, it does come under the heading of, well, how's he going to get out of this?
Well, do you know what, Dags? One of my favorite television shows has lied to me. I don't know if you've watched it. I love For All Mankind.
Yep.
And do you know what happens in that show when anyone goes out into space? That's it. They're cactus. They're gone.
Tatty-tars. Nice knowing you.
They usually bleed from the eyeballs or something, and that's it. Obviously not. In Doctor Who, if you concentrate really hard, maybe you don't go. But I have to say this was good because you're absolutely right. You watch this and you go, well, this is a bit grim. How does he get out of this one? A really good sort of little cliffhanger in the middle of the show.
See, the funny thing is, if they're all frozen, I mean, they're obviously not frozen to death. But they must be freaking cold. So even if they get them all back, they're going to have like hypothermia and what do you call it, frostbite and all sort of stuff. It's like, okay, we'll just ignore those things. They're cold, they're freezing, they've clearly got ice on them. So it's not going to end well for. I mean, what happens? You've got a species in the audience who just can't handle cold whatsoever. We'll just gloss over that, shall we? I did like this one. This is actually very good from Michael. He said it's like a poor man's carousel from Logan's Run. I thought, oh, that's actually very, very groovy. So, absolutely love it. Yeah, good stuff. But then, of course, now this was an OMG moment, fans. As I said, I'm watching this in the store. Now, Aaron and Nick are sitting right behind me, right? Now, when this came up, because I am not a Doctor Who fan, right? I just freely admit it. I just go, what? Hang on. How's it go? Whatever. Whatever. And the guys behind me go, oh, they completely lose their load, dude. And it's like, who the freaking hell's this?
Well, it's speculation that it could have happened, but they actually did it. They brought the Doctor's granddaughter, Susan, from 62 years ago back to the show. She's not sure. She's probably a Time Lord or Time Lady, although they don't really have a difference now, do they? And she is the one who, when the Doctor is starting to freeze, because everyone else you see freeze, she says, "Go back, grandfather," and it snaps him into action and he doesn't freeze. And I don't know, if I was him, how I'd be feeling, if he thought it was an hallucination or it was a psychic contact or something like that. But as you said, for the audience, for anyone who knows who she is and is a long-term Doctor Who fan, that is a wow moment.
So honestly, fans, after this episode, no one gave it, like Aaron and Nick did not give a rat's ass about freaking Eurovision, intergalactic bullshit. All was like, "Oh my god, freaking Susan's back! That's the coolest thing in the entire universe." And I had to turn around and say, who the hell's that?" Look at this incredible cameo. So yeah, Nick was there, and all get him from the back row, and it's like, "Guys, can you shut up? I'm trying to watch the rest of the episode." Greg has said the Docky is lucky his brainstem didn't freeze. Apparently, that can be fatal for a Time Lord, a Time Lady, whatever. I was like, "Oh, okay." So maybe they discussed that in the writers' room. They go, "You know, it's cold, but not cold enough." I don't know.
I think the deal is, Russell, it was about to, and that's when Susan came back and said, "Come back," and it jumped him into not falling into unconsciousness and freezing. That's how I interpreted it.
So Greg also lost his load on Susan's appearance as one of the few true wow surprises of in recent Docky Who. So yeah, totally agree. Shane said, BBC trying to say it's since 1993. I'm sorry, dude, I didn't get that, but welcome to the show anyway, Shane. So that's the most important thing. Now, this part, I'm going to admit, worked and didn't work from my perspective, but I'll let you go first.
Okay, it is one of those things that's probably divisive. But the Doctor shakes himself out of being frozen, looks around, sees that there's a confetti cannon close to him that they have been using the arena, so there's possibly a few unused ones in space, grabs the confetti cannon and uses it to Junior Rocket Boy himself back to the space station.
The problem I had with that, the only problem I had with it, is he gets it and he goes, "Woohoo!" It's like, dude, when you are trying to save your life, you don't go, "Woohoo." You just sit there and go, "I hope this freaking works because otherwise I'm a dead dude," right? That was wanky. You can go woohoo when you get back, when you survive, and you go, "Oh my god, I've survived." Woohoo, but not at the time, because if a girl goes ass about and you go the wrong direction, that's premature woohooing, dude. That doesn't work for me. I don't know about you.
Again, for all mankind, there's not very much woohooing where people are floating around in space with no life support.
No, exactly right. So I thought that was just that, because I thought, "Oh, he's loving it." He's like, "No, dude, he's trying to survive. Otherwise, he could end up dying out there." But
like I said, that one was nearly, is it a bad? But just because of the nature of this episode was a bit more of a flamboyant one, I thought, okay, I'll give it a pass on this one.
Yeah. Actually, the confetti cannon is scientifically accurate. It would be, as you said, because it has a lot of its pressure built up. I mean, same thing with fire extinguishers and all that sort of stuff. I think there's been shows where people have used those in space, which is very cool. And he does get back. How lucky is that?
And what are the odds? There's this massive space station. He fires himself at it. He streaks across to an opening airlock door and manages to go through the one airlock door they're opening for him on the way. I mean, again, in every other episode, I'd go, "Well, that's a bit arse." But this time I'm like, okay, I'll go with it because, this is a bit of a fun episode. So could have gone either way, but I'm giving it a good.
I would have loved if he had just missed the air, missed it by that much, and his big thunk, and the two dudes inside go, "What was that?" A big thunk on the outside of the door, and there's just the red splodge there. Dear. Anyway, but they do get back. Of course, the Dockie's always going to survive, no matter what, and he's back in town, and he's got the bit between his teeth, Mr. Aaron.
Yep. So he's working out what the plan is, and they find the Hellion script that's in the computer. And again, I could have had issues with this. I do think he should have used the sonic screwdriver to see what it was, but he puts his finger on it and that activates in their little section what the plan is. And they find out that it's a delta wave that's going to kill everybody. So the Doctor finds out the plan by interpreting the script. And one of the things that doesn't happen very often in Doctor Who, it makes the Doctor bleed. It's such an intense moment that it knocks out both the humans. The Doctor kind of, clutches his head and then he wipes his nose and it's given him a nosebleed. So that's a bit intense for Doctor Who.
It could have had a Superman 2 moment. You go, it's my blood, it's my blood. You know, which was a very intense scene, by the way, in Superman 2. A lot of people laugh, but I actually thought it was quite serious. And then, of course, you're looking at all this stuff. Graham Norton makes an appearance. How exciting is this, Mr. Aaron?
Oh, I like this scene as well because they go through the space station, and I actually think there would have been more people not in the arena because they actually said at the beginning you watch these hologram things going around the station, and they're like 25 restaurants, 10 money exchanges, and all of that.
Yep.
So it's pretty much deserted apart from these guys and the doctor, though. But I like that they get to the museum, and because this has been going for so long, there's a museum history of the past intergalactic song contest, you know, contestants. And then, of course, Graham Norton turns up and starts by going, gee, I wish I hadn't sold my likeness rights for a perpetuity kind of thing. And, you know, and it's, again, you can go either way on this, but I was in a good mood, eating pizza with mates. It was a funny scene, and it gives the show a bit of history. I mean, the actual event, it has a real history. You can go to underneath the spire in Melbourne, and you can go around. There's a free museum there where you can like see Kylie's hot pants and all these other things like that. And it's the same kind of thing. So I thought that was a nice touch that gave it a bit of realism.
Aaron once told me he saw Kylie's hot pants in the museum and thought, oh, I wouldn't mind trying those on one day.
You should have seen the muffin tops on that.
He should be so lucky. What can I say? Very good. But anyway, there's bad dude stuff going on. The sonic screwdriver does absolutely everything. It's 1,001 uses, like a Swiss Army knife for Time Lords.
Yeah, I did think, again, this could have gone either way, but again, the nature of the episode, I'm just taking it as the spirit of the episode, where Kid works out that they're in the museum section, so he sends Daft Punk to go get them, and the Doctor is so non-concerned about these pathetic robots. He doesn't do anything. He just lifts up his sonic screwdriver and blows their heads off. And this is for some people it might be, oh, that's a bit simple. But he is reminding me, David Tennant went through this time where he was the Time Lord Victorious, and he did this thing once where he ran away from the aliens that were after him, not because he was scared, because if he caught them, he would do something so horrible with them, he would regret it, and he was doing it as a mercy to them. And of course, they wouldn't let it be, and all ended up dying horribly or living horribly kind of thing. And it reminds me again, he thinks Belinda is dead. He thinks they're going to kill 3 trillion people. So last week, when they were going, oh, like, I'm so angry, you've broke my heart because there's a couple of guys in a barbershop that need help. The stakes are totally different, where he thinks they've tried to kill 100,000 people instantly there, and they would have if it wasn't for the Doctor. And now they're lining up to kill 3 trillion people. So the gloves are off, and he's not a happy Time Lord.
Yeah, when he's he's a bit of in a bit of a bad mood. The funny thing is, it doesn't really work in terms of how he comes across as being an unhappy dude. There's definitely a lot of ways of showing aggression, and when he's like yelling and carrying on, it sounds a bit punsy, but it is. I get it. He's like the fuse has snapped, and he's not the happiest camper in the world. But anyway, we're sticking with the goods, and of course, if you didn't get this telegraphed in advance, you're a bit slow on the uptake. Even I knew that she was one of the poppy honey people.
I think that was pretty obvious. This was more for the background of what happened with the company, because if you didn't really see from the bad guys their motivation, and I like, to have motivation, and because she's from the same race, she's giving the clarity and motivation for why the shit's going down on the station with the people who've taken over it. And Belinda's trying to understand, and of course she's like, they took her planet, for the poppies. And of course you do actually feel like, oh, it's drug syndicate or something like that. No, it's just because it was really amazing honey, and they didn't even keep the planet. They took the seeds and then torched the planet so that they could be the only ones able to make this honey. So it really is one of those things that is very, very low thing for a corporation to do. How they managed to buy the planet and all the people on it, that's not really explained. But it is one of those, you can understand the bad guys' motivations because of what's happened to their planet.
Yeah, it's obviously based on what happens in the real world. When the people with the money take over places controlled by people with no money, and it probably happens throughout human history, probably a lot more than what a lot of people are prepared to accept. So it does make sense. Just as an aside, I remember seeing a sculpture one time of a thing on the moon, and astronauts had landed on this moon. And you go, that's great. They're exploring this particular place on the moon. This is obviously set in the future. As I said, it was a sculpture. And they said, that's nothing to do with exploration. It's to do with exploitation. What can they dig up? What can they sell? What can they find? And funny enough, you mentioned For All Mankind, and of course that happens a fair bit there. So in real life, you can imagine it. And funnily enough, it came across in Andor, the Star Wars series we reviewed during the week as well, where a company will find something that they want. They've got some people on there, find a way to get rid of them, and so they can monopolize it themselves. So that is probably just echoing a lot of what's going on even in real life today, which is understandably why the people who are unhappy about it, in this case, want their revenge. So, yeah.
Yeah. And so you've got the Doctor works out what the plan is going to be, and he goes in as a hologram to take care of the kid and win the two Hellions that are in control of the whole station. And they think they're very smug and shoot him, and of course it doesn't work because he's a hologram. And it's one of those things, I think the first time I didn't realize that was going to happen, so it did get me. But it is one of those things where they have powered it up to 99%. It is possibly one of the biggest massacres about to happen ever on Doctor Who if their plan goes ahead.
What could possibly go wrong? Oh, they've pointed a weapon at the Docky. Surely he's got to find a way to get out of this. Oh, he's a hologram. Fell for the second time this month. I've fallen for that. He's behind you. So, yes, a very, very cool, very groovy.
And again, it's one of those things where obviously these two, I guess they're terrorists or freedom fighters or whatever their political statement's going to be, are so out of their depth with the Doctor. They turn round and he's kicked back, and he's got their delta wave generator, and he blows that up, and then he's like, and now I'm going to deal with you because what you were going to do was so horrible.
It is comeuppance time for the bad guys. Is that what you're trying to tell me, Mr. Aaron? The Docky's going to do something the Docky doesn't normally do. He's going to sink the boots in, metaphorically, into some bad dudes who aren't really that bad, but are kind of bad at the same time. And he goes completely Burko. How good's that? Brings out the glove, sir. Well, jeepers, what's he going to do with that?
He does. So he gets a hologram glove and he starts torturing someone, which is something very un-Doctor Who. And you know what? This would usually be a bad for me, because it's very un-Doctor Who-ish behaviour. But you've got this thing where he really does think Belinda is dead. They tried to kill 100,000 people right there and then, and they're going to go and massacre everyone watching Eurovision. And so it is one of those things where the stakes are high. He's maybe justified. But the other thing is, when he starts to do it, I don't think he's the Doctor like doing that, the Doctor that I like. But what happens because he does that is a payoff, which is on sort of the next slide. So, and the payoff is basically his very first companion and his last companion, who he's traveling with now, have to tell him to stop. And when I actually do love Shooty's reaction when Bell comes in, and you know he's almost like a naughty school kid who's got caught doing something he really shouldn't have done, and then when he realizes what he's doing, he really in a hurry takes the glove off. So the gloves are off, as they say. But I did think that was a very powerful sequence there.
Two people have said this. Michael has said he pulled out the Nintendo Power Glove. That's why I laughed. I thought it was funny. And even Phil has said the same thing, the Power Glove. It didn't work for me because I just don't think Shooty can channel anger. It's just like, oh, dude, seriously. I mean, as we've discussed in the previous episode, last week's one was, there are some actors who can really channel like aggression and intense and rage. And I almost thought it was like hubris. He's trying to project this, I'm an angry dude, I'm just going to tear the place apart. And it just didn't work. It's like the guy can act in a lot of ways, but being angry, this just didn't work, in my opinion anyway. So I get where you're coming from. For the character, absolutely. You think, oh, if there was another Doctor doing this, another actor, David Tennant or whoever, it would have been awesome. But I almost found this is like, you almost wanted to laugh. We go, oh, seriously? Yeah, but yes. But for the character, absolutely, completely out of character, funnily enough. So yeah, indeed.
And then I guess we had last week Doctor Who trying to deal with racism, and I guess they did it again this week with the Hellions. And They did it a lot more subtly this week. Maybe not subtle is the right word, but last week you just had the Doctor going off. This week you had like multiple different people from the same race. They had different motivations and they did have different reactions to the situation that they were in. And I thought it was interesting that when the Doctor was dealing with Kid and Win, he actually didn't know their story. He just thought they were terrorists who were trying to kill people. At no point did he say to them, hey, what's going on? And so when she comes out and says, I'm a Hellion and this is like what the company tried to suppress, the Doctor cries. He cries a lot, as we know, because he probably realizes he didn't actually listen to anyone. He just went in headstrong and did what he did. Now, you can totally understand that, but usually the Doctor would actually try to get their side of the story before he just goes in. And I did think it was interesting when she says she's a Hellion, the first thing that happens is someone in the audience yells, go back to where you came from. I don't know if I put it in the bads. One of the things that I thought was a bit of a hole in the script, no one anywhere explained why everyone thought they were so bad. They said, oh, it's a rumor they destroyed their own planet and stuff like that, which seems a bit dumb. But there was no motivation anywhere in the script for why everyone was so racist against them.
Yeah, okay. I was thinking when you were saying that about the Doctor doesn't ask the guys what their motivation is, but by the same token, even if he was to say, "What's your motivation?" "Oh my God, they destroyed our planet, took our honey and whatever." "Oh, okay, off you go, then kill everybody." So you are right, he didn't. But just because you've got an axe to grind doesn't mean it's okay, even if you do understand their point of view. So otherwise, yeah, totally get it. This is an interesting one from Russell. Have you noticed that the Doctor gets aggro when Susan is around? I think the reason Hartnell was so crotchety was that his granddaughter was driving him nuts like most teenager kids do. It's funny enough, you can relate to that exactly in real life. What do you think? What do you think about that?
Oh, it could be like he dropped her off as soon as he could back in the 60s too, didn't he? I don't know. It's one of those things which I probably think the writers aren't really thinking about when they brought her back.
Well, maybe she kept asking for the car keys or for the TARDIS too often, and he just said, "Bloody hell, woman, get your own freaking license." Yeah. Anyway, so we're sticking with the goods. Oh, it's the flashback of the old honey place.
Well, they showed this during the song, and I thought this was very powerful because obviously, on Earth, poppies have a meaning of remembrance and war and stuff like that. So I did think this was a very powerful sequence where they showed the planet burning, and I did think it was good as well that you got to see Kid and Win, who had just failed at their plan, and they were probably thinking, well, this was the better thing to do all along, where they have almost a song that's a protest during the competition, which happens all the time in Eurovision.
Yeah. It is kind of funny. They made a reference to ABBA earlier from 1974. And of course, ABBA had the song Honey, 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 which wasn't in Eurovision, but they had the song anyway. And we're now talking about honey. So, mate, 7 degrees of separation. How cool am I? It's like this whole planet is about freaking ABBA. How good's that?
Well, I think it was. They put a lot of stuff in. I didn't put it out, but there was music lines all through it. One of them says "Take a chance on me" as well during the episode. So I'm pretty sure that would have been on purpose. They laced it with a lot of song lyrics all the way through.
Very, very cool. Yes.
And then I think this is good as well, because when we had the Doctor getting aggro last week, there wasn't much of an explanation. But this week, the Doctor actually explains to Belinda why. And some of the stuff he says is actually important in the dialogue. But he says, it made me think of my own planet, and the death of 3 trillion people triggered me. Happened in a single second every last Time Lord. I'm not sure, even as a massive Doctor Who fan, what continuity we live in. If that was the Cyber Lords taking over or the original Time War that they're talking about, because Doctor Who history is so murky. Don't even let's talk about it. But the thing there that he says is in a single second, because that's mirrored later in dialogue, maybe even in the next slide. It is. So just as they're about to leave and everything's fantastic and they think the Earth is fine, Graham Norton hologram pops up and says, poor old Earth died many years ago. And he says during his little monologue about Earth that it died in a single second. And I like to think when they're writing something, writers try not to repeat stuff because it makes them look like amateurish. So when they do repeat dialogue, it usually means it's got some importance. So I do wonder if down the track it's going to be whatever killed Gallifrey this time round is the same thing that killed Earth.
Just getting back to the whole Waterloo Eurovision thing, I picked up on this and I was waiting for you to finish. Do we make a reference to Bucks Fizz at all? Because obviously they had that song when they're saving everybody. Is that you're going to reference that anywhere in the slides?
Down the track, there's a big thing about all the music.
Yeah, very, very cool. So there we go. Good stuff. All right.
And then I actually thought that the episode had a really good finale as well, because you've seen the TARDIS explode a couple of times. Sometimes you see the console blow up. Sometimes from the outside you see it fall apart. I think this is the first time the doors have blown in a huge rush of fire, and you don't know what's happened to the occupants who are on the inside. So I thought this was a good ending and interesting because it ended and then didn't give a next time trailer for next week.
Very, very exciting. Michael has said Earth mostly harmless. That's from Hitchhikers, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Very, very cool. Guess what, fans? This is the last of the goods, so make sure you lap it up.
And then one of the things that we have speculated about before, the very last person to be revived, end of the queue, is Mrs. Flood. And Mrs. Flood says, well, frozen cerebral cortex will, kill a time lady, but lucky I can regenerate. And it turns out Mrs. Flood is the Rani, and she bioregenerates. So we've got the real Rani and the Mrs. Flood Rani still hanging around as well, like a double terror for the Doctor to fight in the coming episodes. Do you know who the Rani is?
No friggin' idea. But I was just going to say, when the guys went completely, absolutely apeshit over the friggin' Susan thing earlier on, we get to this point, they go, oh my God, it's the friggin' double Rani. And I go, what the hell are you guys talking about? I got no idea. What is so cool about that is she's now split into two, for crying out loud. And that's all they cared about. This is Aaron and Nick behind me. So whatever floats your boat, kids. But you guys were happy, and that's all I cared about. Anything else you want to talk about regarding the goods before we move on to the bads and Uranis?
I think we've done a lot of goods this week, haven't we?
Yeah, but yes, you are right. You guys have been yapping on about this Rani thing for ages, so I'm glad it came to fruition, and you guys can now shut up about it. So which is very cool. Well, guess what, fans? That was into the goods. Now we go negative. What's the crappy shit about this particular episode? And we're going to kick it off with some bad stuff. Go for it.
Okay, the whole thing with the security of the station, I do think if you had 100,000 guests there, you'd probably have the team that's doing the broadcast have a central control and do that. I do not think that the people who are running the television show would have the controls to the air shield in there. I thought that was all way too easy to be turned off. I would have liked it more like a Die Hard thing where you've got the main guy that comes in there and then he sort of messages people and they go, well, we're all on the pylons or something and we're about to blow up the generator. I just thought going in there and pushing one button and everyone floats off into space, gee, no insurance company's ever going to cover that event, are they?
Yeah, clearly they're going to rush through it, right? It's not like freaking Mission Impossible where it's like they spend half the week just trying to work out how to turn the power off. They're just going to go in there, hit some switches, it's done. So, yes, that's obviously a time constraint thing. What?
All it took was grabbing the Toni Collette looking Oompa Loompa and putting her hand on the thing, and off they go into space.
Jesus Christ. Oh dear. I'm always asking her for a bit of some money, but she can't because she's always I'm going to move on to travel. Shut up. Get on with it.
So I had a lot of problems with Kid because I thought the whole backstory was a valid one for him to be motivated to do this, but I thought it was all undercooked. I don't think there was enough time given on, like I said, setting it up or making him a credible villain. Maybe it was because, they said his name's Kid because he was taken away from his parents before they got a name, so everyone's just called him Kid his whole life. But I did think As the pantheon of villains, if this was Game of Thrones, he wouldn't be a Cersei. He'd be more like a Theon Greyjoy, kind of a bit of a loser villain. And I did think the whole motivation was probably not there. He wanted to attack the company or the corporation, but by killing everyone who was watching Eurovision. No, that's not how you attack the corporation and take them down. That's how you make everyone else hate Hellions even more.
Yeah, that can relate to this stuff that happens in the real world. All right, now I've got the greatest comment in the entire universe that's just popped up from Dr. Butcher. Now, to give you credit, how can you be an absolute Doctor Who fan and not know of the Rani? I'm sorry to tell you, Doc, but I'm not a Doctor Who fan. I'm just here pushing the buttons. Aaron's the fan. I've been dragged into this, kicking and effing screaming into this watching these damn shows. And he started me off with Legend of the Sea Devils, which I absolutely despise. And I thought, I ain't doing this ever again. And then Aaron says, oh, no, we're going to talk about Ncuti Gatwa and the Doctor Who series. And here I am pushing effing buttons. So, sorry, sir, I'm not the fan. He's the fan.
He secretly loves it.
Yeah, like a hole in the head. Having said that, as I discussed earlier in Aaron's store on Saturday, I was actually talking Doctor Who with one of the customers who's an absolute complete Doctor Who tragic. So I don't apologise. It's okay. That's the irony of it all, that I'm not a fan at all. I mean, I haven't even watched Doctor Who since the 70s. So I've been dragged into this kicking and screaming. So, yes, so the fact I'm watching this show now, it just tells you how pathetic I am. So no, I didn't know who the Rani was. I had no idea who Susan was, but I'm still here anyway. So my job is to push buttons, and I'm pushing this one.
And the other thing, and I was kind of on the fence about this, but I've given it a bad. If you're going to have a song about an intergalactic song contest, it would have been great if there'd been some absolute crackers of songs, and there really, really weren't. I mean, it says something about the episode when a 1981 Bucks Fizz song is the best thing on the whole show. I nearly thought that the dancing puppet worm song was genius, but again, it wasn't just catchy enough. So I did think, I know they were doing the very sort of Eurovision thing where there's power ballads and pop songs and things like that, but I would have loved something that was way out there. Nick and I were laughing. It would have been great if we'd seen the Drashing come on, and they're these giant lizard things, or something like that. If they're not going to do good music, do something amusing to explain why it isn't good. And I do think as well, if you're playing into this episode is for people who are going to watch Eurovision, maybe have a catchy song in it. I don't know how you do that. You have to be able to write a catchy song. But Doctor Who has done a few musical episodes now in the new series, and none of the catchy songs have been written by the production team. They've all been ones they've swiped from other people.
I'm kind of glad they didn't do the songs, actually. I thought I wasn't interested. I said, just get on with the damn story. And I'm on the opposite. I'm kind of glad they didn't do it. And what they drip fed in, I thought was enough. Because otherwise it just wouldn't. It's like watching The Voice or shows like that. It's like, it just grinds your gears. I don't understand what this means. The Duggar Do is the best thing Murray Gold has written. Okay, so there you go.
That was the little puppet worm singing.
Okay, yeah, righto. And of course, you are right. It's all about rights, as we know from like when they did the Beatles episode last season. They couldn't actually use Beatles songs. So yeah, paying for rights is always a pain in the bum. Yes, exactly right. Sticking with the bads though. Oh, Belinda's copping a hammer on this one.
She's not copping a hammering because she was bad. I just thought her character was sidelined and she really didn't do anything. So we've seen, the Doctor Who episodes where the Doctor's been sidelined, and we've said that was a bad thing because it's a Doctor Light episode. Belinda wasn't sidelined as she wasn't in the show. It was just she was stuck in a room for most of the time talking stuff that no one cared about. And she's a better companion than that. So I had to give it a bad because, it looked exciting at the start where the Doctor was going to be blown out into space. She was going to be on the space station and be proactive about getting him. But she wasn't. There was these two other guys that were the ones that got him, and she was just in a room sidelined. So I thought that was a waste of her character.
Yep, fair enough. I like this one from Russell. If the writer could write decent songs, he'd be doing that and not writing Doctor Who. Yep, totally. I'm with you on that one. And even Phil said at least the standout song was the one at the end. At least that was a good one. So, yes, because once you do the singing, that's it. The whole episode just stops. It's like, get on with the damn story. Speaking of you dudes, here they are.
Yeah. This frustrates me because After last week, we had a bunch of guys in the hairdresser barbershop that had no personality and were kind of just there as background characters. These guys I liked, except why do they have to do the thing where they all fall for the Doctor? Russell T Davies is writing for the Doctor like he's Captain Jack, where everyone in the room falls for him. And that is not something I want to see happen with the Doctor. And it's one of those things where I don't think I'm homophobic. I have a lot of gay friends and I like watch shows with gay people in it. But I don't like how they portray, these guys who are in a relationship. As soon as someone that comes along who's the Doctor, they don't care about the relationship they have for each other and go after him. And I just kind of think, okay, well, I would think in a relationship it would be a bit more than someone coming in and asking them to do stuff before they just wanted to jump into a relationship with him. I just thought that was all a bit unrealistic and even insulting to people in gay relationships.
Yeah, that's a good point. It would be the equivalent of a heterosexual couple, and they see Belinda and go, "Oh, she's a bit of a babe. Sorry, honey, you're out the door. I'm just going to go hook up with this woman." And of course, a lot of people would be going, "Oi, you can't do that." So, yeah, you'd almost argue that these two dudes later on are going to have a chat and go, "Hang on, what's the deal with that?" Suddenly, you just wanted to piff me off and go with the new kid in town. So. It was kind of pushing the friendship a bit much, and it was unnecessary. They could have just been buddies for all we know, but no, they had to push the relationship angle. It was totally unnecessary. It didn't really achieve anything. So, and Hashenbagger said, I yelled at the screen multiple times. What was even was this episode? Yeah, I guess. So they've got to be careful with this sort of thing, and it's just not really what Doctor Who is about, even as someone like myself who doesn't watch much of it.
And this is what we were talking about earlier, and it is still a bad, I think. There's 100,000 people floating around in space, and the Doctor says, "Oh, can we do these people and bring them back one at a time?" So even if you did one a minute, that's a heck of a long time to do. But they do say, "Can you convert the VIP pods into revival booths?" So I'm presuming every single pod in the station then got turned into revival booths, and they were doing 20, 30 people at a time. So it brought the thing down a lot faster. But it was unrealistic. And like I said, would they have got defrosted after all this trauma in space and then gone straight back into the arena to watch the rest of the content? I don't think so. They'd been on the phone to their lawyers seeing how much money they could claim for the breach of safety.
See, this is what I put my own slide in for this one, right? So this is what I thought. It wasn't the good, the bad, or the ugly. It was just the dumb, right? When the Doctor just says to the guys, "Oh, can you just bring back 100,000 people," right? And you work on, well, how long will that take to achieve, for crying out loud? Now, as you said, they were starting to bring them back in groups. But if they started off with just 2 people every minute, that's one every 30 seconds, right? That's 1,200 people a day. But you're still going to take friggin' 84 days to get everybody back. That's over like nearly 3 months, for crying out loud. So that was a really dumb, stupid moment. And they just go, yeah, like it's nothing. It's like, hang on, it is something. And it's not going to happen within like the next 4 or 5 hours. It's going to take days, weeks. That's assuming you don't take a break. Nothing breaks down. There's only 2 guys doing it. Someone has to retrofit the pods and whatever else. So that was a really, really stupid concept from my perspective, as like saying, oh, just bring it back like it's nothing. Sure, they don't even complain about it. It's like, oh, well, hang on. Do you realize I'm gonna go? I've got a date next week now with my dude. We've got a date night on tonight. What is the deal with that? Oh, that was really pathetic. That was so.
Yes.
Yes. The dumb perfect. Yeah, it was. And they just said, yeah, not a problem at all. It's like 100,000 dudes, mate. That's a lot of puppies. So, and they all lived. And as you said, thawed them out. And the first thing they did is like, let's get back into the competition. It would have been like 2 months later by the time they did that. So, anyway, so, and yes, Phil, we mentioned that earlier that Mrs. Flood happens to be the last one, which was kind of cool. Hang on. Nick has said, petition for Dags to add his own The Dumb section for every episode. Oh, I tell you what, you're not wrong. And of course, the final one of the bads, and I agree with this one, the waterworks from the docky again. Oh, dude,
Again,
what is the deal? Fix the plumbing, son. Fix the plumbing.
I know. I think he actually cried 3 times in this episode, but when I was going back and making the slides, I could only find it twice. But it is one of those things where every time it's not justified, and this time it was 3 times or 2 times at least not not justified. The Doctor needs to just pull it together and be the Doctor, and not like turn on the waterworks every time. It just stops the episode in its tracks.
Yeah, and once again, as I like I said, Shooty can't act angry and he can't act upset. It just when the crying, yeah, it just looks so artificial. It looks so fake. The poor bastard does need to take some acting lessons regarding being upset, because clearly it's just not his strong suit, in my opinion. Anyway, fans, guess what? That's the end of the bad. So we've done the goods, we've got the bads out of the way. And we're now going to do what we call the uglies, which is nothing actually ugly at all. It's actually all about theories, views, opinions. This is the bit. I mean, whoever was discussing earlier about me being a fan, this is where Aaron gets to cut loose on his thoughts and views. And I tell you what, fans, get your nerd on, because he just goes completely burko with this stuff. Absolute shit that's coming out of his mouth is going to drive you nuts. So off you go, sir. Give us some uglies.
Well, the uglies as well, we look at influences and parallels to other shows. And the first thing, I said it before, surely they look like Daft Punk because it was Eurovision and to do with music. There are a couple of...
Yeah, anyway, go on.
Yeah, so there are a couple of actual Daft Punk costumes that look very like the guards in this thing, and also they reminded me of the slabs from Smith and Jones, which was Martha's first episode with David Tennant. So there are parallels to a few other things through this episode.
See, I just worked it out. When Daft Punk do an actual concert, right? When they finish, instead of going for the encore and like standing ovation, just have their heads explode. That's the way to finish a concert. That'd be really, really cool, wouldn't it? So, yes.
And I don't know if anyone else noticed this or it was just me. That's the same picture, actually, with the robot walking aside. The motifs on the walls, which were like half of the doors, look very, very similar to the cyber computer from Tomb of the Cybermen. And at the start of the episode, I was wondering, I wonder if the Cybermen are going to turn up in this, because it does echo very, very closely the design patterns on the cyber logic computer in their tombs. So no, that didn't happen. But I think if you look at the screen caps, and you can see the parallels why someone with a brain like mine might think that.
I bet you looked at it and go, oh, look at that. It looks like whatever that thing was, cyber shit. It's like that. No one else has spotted it. How cool am I? And I was like, I love it. The man is just dripping in nerd. It just really works for me.
And for anyone who didn't like the confetti cannon, there is a very, very similar parallel in Four to Doomsday, where the Doctor is stuck in space, doesn't have any way to move around because in zero gravity you can't really do anything. So he pulls out a cricket ball from his pocket. He throws the cricket ball at a spaceship. It comes back, and the inertia from catching the cricket ball pushes him back to the TARDIS. So there is precedence for this kind of lunacy in Doctor Who when it comes to spacewalking. And I thought it's probably not something that the writers thought, but I saw the parallel there.
Obviously I didn't see that episode. He chucks the ball at the TARDIS. It comes back and goes, where are my pads? Where's my box? And it lands in the most inappropriate spot. He's a Doctor Who retired hurt. Yes, exactly right.
He was using the cricket ball to get to his box.
Absolutely love it. And of course, we get into the Susan thing. So this is something that got you very excited, Mr. Aaron.
Yep, and I'm very excited about this because I don't think anyone has noticed this. Susan's back, but her earrings look exactly like the first Doctor's signet ring, which was something that the Doctor before the sonic screwdriver kind of used as a sonic screwdriver. And when he regenerated, he used it all through the William Hartnell era to do various things. When he regenerated, it slipped off his finger into the TARDIS console, and he lost it because his fingers weren't the same size. So I don't know if this is deliberate, but gee, it's a really close match if it's not. So if the writers do that, I don't think it'll come back into the story, but I thought that was a really amazing nod to the first Doctor's era, that they would make her earrings, because they are the same size, which is why I'm thinking, and the settings they are in look the same. And I thought someone's really gone to a lot of trouble to put that into the episode.
Well, personally, I think the chance of it being a fluke are unlikely. So you'd like to think that someone has done their research and made it occur for real. And if you're the first one who's picked up on that, aside from the internet going completely batshit crazy at the moment, as people go, "Oh my god, did you see this?" That is actually a very, very cool thing. So, yeah, even Gregor said, nice spotting, Aaron. Yeah, cool. Exactly right. He had his nerd on. After when you watch this episode 4 times, you're bound to see shit that goes, "Hey, that's really working for me." So,
Well, I try
very
not
cool.
to watch anything online before we do the reviews. So if
Mm.
that's a completely new one, I'm happy about that. So what they were going to use was called the delta wave, and it was going to destroy, trillions of people. And the Doctor knows about this because he's done this before. It's a bit of a hard one to find a picture of, but the top right there is from Christopher Eccleston's finale, The Parting of the Waves, where the Daleks had taken over the space station, and he was going to use a delta wave to destroy every single Dalek, but he couldn't do it because it was going to destroy all the humans on the station as well. So he had to pack it in and not do it. So he does know what it was like standing there with a delta wave about to unleash it. And I actually turned to Nick when I was watching this and said, it's going to be the Mara, because Tegan used a delta wave device to block out the Mara in Snake Dance, and when it comes off her head, then she becomes possessed. But I thought it was going to be the twist where they were sending out a delta wave not to kill everyone, but to protect everyone from the Mara, because it is one of the gods that they've mentioned in the pantheon of gods, and we never know what's going to turn up. So I was thinking, like all these things, Cybermen, the Mara, Susan, like all these different things were going through my head. So maybe that's why I give this episode more of a pass than I would if it was just a regular week.
Well, it turns out you've been shot down in flames because, as Pure Historical has said, sorry, Aaron, the earrings have been picked up elsewhere, but still a good spot. So
Well,
there you go. Very good. So in other words, Aaron, you suck. It's already been taken care of. Someone else has already found this stuff. But somebody out there, even Greg didn't notice it. So there you go. You've at least impressed one person. And I was impressed as well. Very cool. All right, away we go.
so this is another pickup that probably was not meant, but it's interesting. I wouldn't have put this in except for what the alien that comes out of the pod. So when they were reviving people, it really did remind me of the transporter from The Fly. And as you can see in that publicity picture, same kind of color, same kind of smoke, a little bit different shaped. They get Rylan out first, but then the very first alien they get is a giant fly. And I thought, gee, I wonder if someone, was going, hey, do you know what this looks like? Let's put a nod in to The Fly. Again, probably not, but a lot of Doctor Who has parallels to science fiction. And when I see them, I like to bring them up because it's interesting to see.
For those who didn't know and don't give a rat's ass, the Fly teleporter on the left-hand side there was based on a Ducati motorcycle engine. So well, there you go. There you go. See, even I can we'll drop out a bit of nerd from time to time. Russell has said Mara was the first Rani, so you were close. I assume you know what that means, what he's referring to?
Yes, I think it's Indian folklore, isn't it, Russell? But
Yeah.
yeah.
I like this one as well. When the guy's yapping on about the Time Lords being a good name for a band, and of course it was a band.
Yes, I did think that was funny as well, where Kid says, "Who do you represent?" He's like, "The last of the Time Lords." He says, "That's a great name for a band," and the Time Lords were, of course, a band. And we've got the Doctor in the TARDIS, as love it or hate it, as a testament to they were a band. I also thought, I didn't put it in these shots where he was talking to the Doctor, he really looked like Kiefer Sutherland from the Lost Boys as well. I don't know if that was done on purpose, but I couldn't find one that paralleled it close enough. But that's the vibe it was giving me.
Yeah, I reckon that's actually kind of cool. But yes, as soon as I saw that, I thought, oh, yes, of course, when Doctor and the TARDIS came out, which was very, very groovy. And of course, we stick with the Eurovision thing and Waterloo and whatever else.
Yeah, so there's a whole lot of things that they used a whole lot of musical references all the way through. Waterloo, Bucks Fizz. You had a different one where they mentioned Rise Like a Phoenix, which is that the one in the middle there that was obviously a gay rights one, which is probably why they mentioned it in Doctor Who. But the one that I don't know if anyone picked up, and I don't know if this is a coincidence, but it's just one of those weird things that happens. The Doctor asks, "Who are the Hellions?" And Eminem answers that in a song. He says, "Little Hellions, kid." So he actually mentions the character's name, although when he wrote it, he meant kids, I guess, full of rebellion. And that's actually what he's doing. So I did think that was another musical parallel that's quite, it's a stretch that they meant it, but it's a weird coincidence just because the kid name in it is the same as the character.
So the tragic thing about this is that we watched this episode with Nick, who's watching with us tonight, and of course Nick is only like 23 years old. And when Aaron and I see the Bucks Fizz song come up, oh my God, it's Bucks Fizz, making your mind up, whatever it was, bloody, bloody, blah. Nick, he goes, never heard of them. It's like you are so young. Dude, they were like an ABBA ripoff. How could you not know them? They're all blonde. You know, the girls are hot. They take their clothes off. What's there not to like, even if the song sucks? So,
well, the other thing, which is a really cool musical parallel, and they won't have meant this at all, and it's just because I'm a huge music fan, I know this. Making Your Mind Up was a Bucks Fizz hit. Do you know what their next hit was?
I do, but I can't remember it.
It was called The Land of Make Believe, and that's what we're getting next week.
Very, very cool. Yeah, Nick said, yeah, never heard it. And it's like, oh, dude, you are just... You missed out big time, because as soon as they came out on the video show, you go, hey, who are these guys? No idea what happened to them, but I tell you what, there was a bit of Bucks fizzing going on for a bit of time there. So it was very, very cool.
Yes. So we have finally, the Rani comes back. It's been rumored every year for 20 years since Doctor Who has returned, but they finally did it. They finally did what they said they'd never do, because they said the Rani's too obscure and we can't get the rights and it isn't worth it. No one to know who she was, but they've done it. And not only have we got one, we've got the two Ranis at the moment now, because the Rani has bioregenerated. And one of the clues that she was a time lady in the Rani earlier in the episode is the little device that she's holding. When I saw that, I thought, oh, maybe this is a nod to the mark of the Rani, where she had a little thing like that, and it held maggots, which she fed to people, and it would mind control them. So when she opened it and asked that alien, did she want a grape, you have to check that it's not got a maggot inside, because it's a mind control thing. And if you zoom in on that that little device really closely, I'm pretty sure it has Time Lord writing on as well. I'm not 100% sure on that, but the little black circles look like Time Lord writing. And of course, you can see different versions of the Rani from the 80s there. She was played by Kate O'Mara, originally in Mark of the Rani, with Anthony Ainsley as the master. And the other interesting thing, because she's obviously the big bad guy in this, that picture in the middle, you see one of her plots she had with Sylvester McCoy. She disguised herself as Mel. So Mel is now back in Doctor Who and might have a second go round a second time with the Rani. So out of Doctor Who good guys, she'd be the only person who's gone up against the Rani twice, the same actor, because all the doctors had changed between her appearances. So having the Rani back is pretty cool. And you know it's cool because it's not, oh no, it's not the Master again. Oh no, it's not Davros again. I would prefer they go for someone more obscure. That makes me happy.
So, idiot me pulled out the magnifying glass of truth to say, oh, it's got Time Lord writing on that pink thing in the middle. And I've had a look at it and I go, what the friggin' hell does Time Lord writing even look like? Oh my God. And don't anybody try and tell me, because I don't want to know. I'm sick of this stuff as it is. So, yes, very, very cool. Good stuff. Hang on. Hang on, I'm just quickly, I haven't remembered the two Ranis, a good boy Earth from me and good night from her. Yes, exactly. That's actually very, very clever. The disguise, as Mel, was one of the worst scenes ever in Docky Who. Yeah, still, Nick is still waiting for the Valiard. You never get enough, do you? You got your bloody Ranis and you still want more, more, more. You young people are never satisfied. So, and at least they're brave enough to do it this time, finally. Just question, so when who's the other one? Rani number 2 comes out. How come Mrs. Flood is now being treated as subservient? What's the deal with that?
I have no idea. I thought that was a bit of a weak thing to do, because when the Doctor regenerated like that, the other Doctor kind of was still the Doctor. He was a little bit tired, it came across. So maybe it is something to do with bioregeneration. But obviously, being a bad guy, the Rani wants to have a dominant Rani and another one. So now, and interestingly enough, she says, this is a Rani and I am the Rani, and then proceeds to keep calling her Mrs. Flood. So it's just, now the Rani is out.
There you go. But I tell you what, who's out and back is Susan.
So people, we're going to go back through some of my past conspiracy theories. We have had Always Sunny in Philadelphia conspiracy wall saying Carol from HR. Carol from HR was obviously Carol Ann Ford. No one believed me. Everyone thought I was nuts. It's her. She's back. Conspiracy confirmed. So all that raving you were going, oh, you're just blowing it out your ass. We were right on that one.
Well, I can tell you right now, I certainly didn't say that because I've got no frigging idea what you're talking about. But Conrad is coming. At least I know who this dude is.
So Conrad is back. The BBC tweeted straight after this episode the Trinity of Evil, or the Unholy Trinity, and they pictured Conrad and Mrs. Flood and the Rani. And if you remember, I think before anyone, I was like, Conrad's coming back. The Rani let him out. Well, Mrs. Flood let him out, so he's coming back. He'll be the main bad guy. I also speculated maybe he is Omega, or Omega turns up on that as well. That hasn't happened. Watch this space, but I'm taking that as a conspiracy confirmed.
Indeedy, doody, doddy. He's very, very excited. He's very happy, and of course, yes, the Rani's TARDIS dude.
And right back in the first episode, quite facetiously, I said that taxi is probably the Rani's TARDIS because all the other landmarks were identifiable. And we had a joke how they would never bring the Rani back, and they did. So it's another conspiracy confirmed.
Mate, how good are you? You're chalking up these like notches on the bedpost for the wrong reasons. Nick has said, Russell T Davies has said, see, I know who RTD is now, has said the Rani's only classifies one, so we have one more member to be revealed. Oh, okay, so there you go. How about that, eh? And he's also said this is 2/3 of the Unholy Trinity is Rani times 2 is one person. It's like, oh, how about that, mate? How good is that? Mate, very, very cool. And yeah, we're still going.
And so here we are into the new conspiracy theories where the Unholy Trinity, I'm still thinking the gods of Ragnarok, though if it is the Rani and 2 other people, it's not going to be. But I thought, what about this? They tweeted out that, and I put my own tweet, which was, what if the Unholy Trinity are Chris Chibnall, Russell T Davies, and Stephen Moffat? And they go full meta, where they actually admit the writers of this series are evil, either because they're the ones putting the characters through stuff, or their writing is so shit that they are just evil, and that's why the series isn't great all the time. So I'm going back to maybe the big bad guy behind all of this is the writers who write the episodes.
Very good. That's very, very exciting. And we're still going.
So here's something else that, again, when I said earlier, they repeat dialogue for a reason, because if you keep repeating the same things over and over and it doesn't come to anything, it just means you're a lazy writer. Now, way back in the Star Beast, when Russell T Davies came back, the Meep at the end says, well, you're a creature with 2 hearts, and 2 hearts are a rare thing. I'm just going to wait until I tell the boss about this. So the Meep's boss was obviously looking for someone with 2 hearts. I reckon the Meep's boss is the Rani, because this season they've kept showing the Doctor has 2 hearts. In the Robot Revolution, they did this thing where they had the X-ray blanket, and then in this one, when Mike looks at him, he's like, "Oh, you've got 2 hearts and a respiratory bypass system." And I think they mentioned it in another episode as well. So I think they're doing that to remind you he has 2 hearts. So when the Meep comes back to tell his, or the Rani reveals the Meep told her about him, the 2 heart things come back, because I think the Rani, being a biochemist and into experimentation, wants someone with 2 hearts to experiment on.
Remember way back here, I said Dr. Butcher said, how can I be an absolute Doctor Who fan and not know of the Rani, etc., etc.? Well, I'll tell you what, there, that Meep thing, when I first saw, like I'm looking at that picture, that episode a few weeks ago when you had the 3 fans on the couch, I could have sworn the one on the right had the Grogu from Star Wars on it, and someone said, "No, it's the Meep," and I go, "What the freaking hell's the damn Meep?" It's an ugly looking Grogu, for crying out loud, with teeth. So I kind of got that bit wrong. I think I got you wrong again. So yes, very, very cool. The Meep. Okay, I'm going to have to try and remember what that is, at least until the end of this episode. Then I'll just have to forget it again. Very good.
So again, what I was saying is the Rani's a brilliant chemist, and if maybe she is responsible for bioregeneration because of the experiments she's been doing, and that's why she needs the Doctor to try and fix it, because she stuffs stuff up somehow. I don't know. That's pure conspiracy theory. But I also think it's interesting that Mrs. Flood has been following them around and getting the readings off the Vindicator. And I think that the Rani has been using the Vindicator to pinpoint when they have to destroy Earth. So the Doctor has been using it to try and get back, but the Rani has been so interested in getting the time-space coordinates because she's using it to destroy that point in time. So that's my conspiracy theories for this week.
I think it's a good one, actually, because clearly the destruction of Earth is irrelevant to what they're up to. Greg has said the Rani's regeneration was presumably unexpected for her, so whatever her plans were, she must have been aiming to move ahead with them as Mrs. Flood. Yeah, you're right. It seems like it just happened unexpectedly. Maybe fast-tracked after being thawed out. Maybe that had something to do with it as well. So, yes, maybe she wanted to stay in disguise for a bit longer. Good point. Guess what? That's the end of all of our damn slides. And it's now time to rate the episode in Rotten Time Lords. So for fans out there, if you're wondering how it works, we have the master meter. The less masters, the better it was. The more masters, the worse it was. This is obviously from Aaron. And Mr. Aaron, how did you go? Like last week, you went for 3 masters, which is kind of like, I don't know, was it 6, 4 or 5, maybe
6
out of 10, maybe, give or take?
6 out of 10.
6 out of 10, yeah, that'll do. Yeah, that works for me.
So there wasn't a lot of bads in it, but the goods weren't amazing goods. Like, it was made better by a couple of revelations, and the revelations really weren't part of the story. The revelations were Susan, which is a bigger story arc, and Mrs. Flood's the Rani, which is a bigger story arc. So it wasn't an earth-shatteringly bad story. It wasn't amazingly good. It was just sort of a romp, if you know what I mean when I say that. So it's all to do with Eurovision, and then a couple of plot part points that'll arc into the next episode are sprinkled in. What did you think?
Look, I don't know. It was all right. It's as simple as that. I mean, from what you guys said, if it wasn't for the Susan thing and the Rani thing, it probably would have just rated as being rubbish. So that was the bit that had you guys interested more than anything else. It's a bit like how Batman appears in The Flash. Oh, that's the most important thing out of the entire movie. So, so with the episode, I don't know, it didn't work for me because everything had to be fast-tracked. You know, the guys got to come in and take over the show and kill everybody and then bring them back and save them. And it's all done really quickly. Like, as you said, it would have been good if they could have slowed it down a little bit. I don't know. I thought it was all right. I mean, after a couple of weeks ago, not last week, but the week before, I mean, they were episodes I really enjoyed. So they were kind of standing on the shoulders of giants. So the Eurovision thing here, I don't know, it was a bit fluffy. As you said, it was fluff. For me, it was almost a bit of a waste of time. But anyway, if somebody got something out of it, that's great. But I wouldn't be surprised if it rates badly. If a lot of people go, other than your Susan, your Rani stuff, that it just gets like bagged. It wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. So there you go. That actually brings us to the end of the episode. Now, we've got a few people watching who've never actually watched us before, which is important because we now got to tell you, we keep making references to the store, and this is Aaron's store. So, Mr. Aaron, wherever you are in the world, this is where you need to go shopping for your Docky Who collectibles. Is that right?
And we literally, I don't know if you can pull it back up again, the spoiler image, but we got a huge, 60 or 70 classic Doctor Who DVDs in this week. So we've got quite a good collection. And then we've had a couple of other Doctor Who collections. So at the moment, we're brimming with Doctor Who goodness. That's Dags peering over like half the collection of Doctor Who DVDs. We've sold a couple of them already. There were a couple of harder to find ones there. The fantastic thing is they're pretty reasonably priced. They're $6 each, or if you buy a couple of them, they're $5 each, which is much cheaper than just the postage if you try and tracking them down on eBay. So that would be my featured item this week.
Yeah, I'm hiding behind that wall because I'm thinking, mate, where can I go and hide? Because I'll tell you what, never seen me so happy. The more happy once they're out the door. So very, very cool. So that actually brings us to the end of the episode. So hopefully he's enjoyed, especially those tuning in for the very first time. And Mr. Aaron puts a lot of time and effort into his slides, and he absolutely he's nerd run free, which is cool. There's only 2 episodes left after this one. So
and then
Mr.
you're
Aaron,
free.
I'll have to just purge myself of all this Doctor Who knowledge. It's killing me. So,
well,
anyway,
do you remember
fans, what you go on?
Do you remember what we did last year? 2 episodes and then the redux of the whole series.
Oh, God, mate, you're killing me. What can I say? I can only handle so much. It's not right. So, yes, very cool. Is there anything you want to say regarding what you think the next 2 episodes are going to be about before we wrap it up for the evening for Mr. Aaron?
Well, it's interesting that they didn't really give a next time trailer. They've released some stuff online on some of the official channels. Some people have sent it to me. I didn't, like I said, I try to avoid everything till we do the review, just so I get like me and your opinion rather than other people's opinion sort of leak in. So I think it's one of those things where if they're not doing a trailer and they're just releasing a couple of scenes, it's going to be a wild episode. I think there's going to be all bets off this week as to what happens. It's called Wish World, which kind of evokes it's going to be more fantasy than sci-fi.
Okay. Like Michael said, yeah, buy yourself a Docky Who DVD and get a free pop. We've got that many pops in the store. This is Funko Pops. We don't know what to do with them all. So, yes, out they go. Buy one DVD, get 50 pops chucked in for nothing. Absolutely cool. All right, we're going to buzz off, fans. We'll see you next Tuesday to review more Docky Who. I can barely contain my excitement. It is all good and wonderful. In the meantime there, be sure to party hard, rock on, and we'll catch you then. Okay, bye for now.
Have a good night, guys.